thought that it might be nice to paint some architecture live on stream. I've been doing some of my paintings just for myself as well. Don't always want to talk. I only have so much voice. But let's get the gouache out. Take it from there. Not sure if I'm going to finish this one in one go. That'd be cool, but let's not assume. Alright. I'm also using the lid of this. So I'm doing these virtual plein air paintings, and what that means is I'm looking up Google Street View shots of places that look fun to paint, trying to pick a nice angle, taking it from there. So I'm blocking in shapes. These are not at all final colors. Just trying to nail stuff down a little bit, you know? I'm mixing up hopefully a gray. I don't know. Not sure it's gonna look that great. Little rattle you're in here, sorry. Yeah, everything's like a lot darker than it needs to be right now, but that's okay. The trick, I think, is just to try and hold the perspective in your mind, because there's going to be things that try and tell you it's otherwise. You know? So I watch a lot of people making models on YouTube. I think the first one that really caught my eye was a Studson Studios video, which makes sense. Because it's not just about making the model, though we use an incredible model maker, but, and by model I mean scratch, I don't know. Making a thing, a three-dimensional thing. But his videos are very well produced and funny. So of course they're kind of easy to get into. They're a good intro. But also now I watch people who make like sort of model train environments as well. And there's a kind of passion for tiny details and really banal elements that I love. I absolutely love it. I get it. Whole hog. Really just excited about the possibilities of sort of narrative and veracity, or like using attention to detail as a way to prove that you care about a space and producing it and presenting it accurately and so forth. It's really cool. Is it cool? Okay, maybe it's not cool, but it's really interesting. I love it. I think it's cool. Alright, let's lay in some shadow. I've been a little under the weather, and I suspect that I am still under the weather. So I don't think that this piece is going to be a particularly ambitious endeavor as a painter today. But I really like doing this. Like, the act of sort of painting these is really fun and satisfying and slightly relaxing for me. So I feel like it is extremely worth doing for me. And then also, I said I would. And I think that letting myself make something that's more about getting the pens out than it is about being really, really good, that's probably very important for my brain. Let's get some sky. Sky Lake. It's Heard of the Sky. So I'm letting my marks sort of overlap each other because this is kind of in a drawing phase still. So I'm not really worried about it being super careful about what the final piece is going to look like, you know? Just thinking about it for a second. All right, let's put some opaque white paint on this thing. Works better than you'd think, honestly. Ooh, that color didn't work though. We're getting some dimension. It doesn't really make a lot of sense yet, but we're getting some dimension. Hold on a second. There we go. Thanks for your patience. Whoops. Trying again. There we go. Learning about painting on camera. Okay, we're gonna re-blue the sky a little bit. I've been watching some James Gurney painting videos, and he talks about really making sure you have a steady hand for architectural details, especially fine lines, and that's a nice dream. I feel like I have to kind of embrace a certain wonkiness, or I'm going to drive myself up the wall. Just pursuing something I'm not naturally inclined to. I can use digital tools when I need to be precise. I am not, by nature, otherwise very precise. And I really don't feel like it's a moral failing. Why just come along? One of the things that I keep reminding myself is that this is a project where I want to play around with using line work on gouache. And so it's okay to paint messy and rescue it in post, as it were. Hey, dude! Nice to see your friendly avatar. I'm making a mess. Oh my god, I almost asked you how your Sunday was. Is it a weekday? It's a weekday, isn't it? Oof. In which case, how was your weekday? How was your Monday? I gotta get a calendar in this room. I am excited about all these little signs and also completely overwhelmed. So this location shot I picked off of Map Crunch is from Hong Kong. And all of the actual logos on the signs are Tesla Pro and Flourish logos. And I don't know what's happening, but I love it. Aw, busy and stressful is not ideal. Wishing you the best of luck. Is it deadline o'clock? It might be time to switch to a smaller brush, but you can't make me. Holiday season o'clock is the reality of all of us. It's the worst. I have been swinging wildly between a desire to bake and clean and decorate and a desire to only paint and draw and read sci-fi novels and a third, honestly quite overwhelming desire to stay in bed. And so if I can resist the third one, I feel like I'm doing all right, but that's because I don't have anything on my plate that's imminent, such as anyone who seems to expect anything from me professionally right now, which is I'm very grateful, but also stressed. But grateful, but stressed. It's a real combo. I was thinking of making, because I'm not going to be able to see family because of the universe and the world and our numbers, I want to make some things to sort of give as care packages. And I have a couple of things, specifically, my commenting friend here might know about something I have in the freezer for her. So I have a few other things put aside already for pals and buds. But what if I baked like 1,000 cookies? Like 1,000 cookies. That would be a lot. We'd probably have to buy more eggs. Are there eggs in cookies? Sometimes, at least. But I really, really, really want to make these almond shortbread crescents that I made a couple years ago. Partially because I believe I just sort of lived off them once they came out of the oven. And they brought me great joy. But also because shortbread really ships well. It dries like a nice dissolvable rock. And you pack it up with some parchment paper and you shove it in a box where it can't get too shaken around. And it arrives mostly intact. I don't feel like gingerbread does the same. Or at least not the gingerbread I've made. No. Nothing is owed. It's more like I came into some delicious treats that I will be spreading around, and I will try and add to that because I can. But also, like I mentioned, the stay in bed instinct is strong, so I might just stay in bed and not do anything for several days in a row. And I'm going to forgive myself for that. Sorry, I'm eating a cookie on stream. That's the worst, eh? We bought S cookies, which is a Italian cookie, I think. It's kind of like a chewy lemony sugar cookie with icing, which I would describe as a very strong pitch for a treat. And I would also say that they fully deliver on it. But I'm also feeling really shit about not being able to see family. Made, honestly, like some pretty ambitious plans, and obviously they've all been canceled, and no one's mad. We all understand. It's just crap. And I feel like I want to do something from a distance, you know? Perspective fell off the rocker a little bit there. Let's try this again. Hey, thank you. Gouache is very forgiving for this because I just draw something, and if it's in the wrong spot, I just paint over it. As long as the gouache is thick enough. And that's been really helpful. Oh boy. So I'm continuing to have the itch to do more writing, and I'm letting stuff sort of percolate in my brain. See if it has anything in particular to say. Which has been pretty cool. To do that with intent. I feel like I always have stories kicking around in there that I never expect to really get out. And now it's like, oh, maybe I actually can. You're like, why not use a smaller brush? That's because it's not smaller brush o'clock yet. It's because I'm very stubborn. And I've been thinking about how to kind of tidy up stories and make them into something I'd be excited to sort of share on the internet, you know? I talked a little bit, I think, about like worrying about some of them being really bleak. So that continues to be on my mind. Don't just want to make bleak content for the bleak times. I want to make content about people finding capacity to improve the world. Even just the tiniest little corner of it. This may have been an ambitious view. 1 point perspective is kind of deadly. Shit gets really tiny. Really, really, really tiny. One thing I've also decided to just not worry about as I do these is if my perspective kind of doesn't match up or my like exact composition is off, you know? Because it doesn't matter because no one else can see my ref, and even if you could, I'm not supposed to be a machine that produces things exactly. And because it would just be really stressful to focus on the drawing when I'm trying to practice painting. Like you need a drawing to paint, but you don't need the perfect drawing to paint. So trying to hold that thought in my own head as best I can. I said something about painting over stuff, eh? Well, you really do need thicker paint than I just put on. Let's try this again. So all this stuff back here. Trying to decide what to do with it, kind of. How much detail makes sense to include? It's a process. It's cars. Those are cars. I've drawn you cars. Let's see. I finished a novel, reading it. I watched the Shadow and Bone series on TV, and I was like, okay, there's enough there that I could call myself quite interested. I just love a real piece of shit villain, dude. Like, absolutely terrible person, completely obsessed with himself, deep in his own world of self-loathing. It's a great recipe. It's a great recipe, folks. And you could tell the actor was just having so much fun being that horrible person. Like, really understood why he was satisfying and interesting and compelling. And that made me pick up the books. The other thing I really liked in it, though, was the thieves. The sort of heist that's happening in the show, which is not in the Shadow and Bone books, but in a different... It's actually not even in another series, but those characters have their own series separate from the Shadow and Bone books. And they were great. I really liked them. I'm a sucker for a heist. I'm a sucker for a crew of misfits with deep-seated issues they aren't going to be dealing with if they can help it. And so I read those books as well. And those books I loved. Absolutely scratched all of the heist itches, everything I wanted out of like that crew of just terrible people who couldn't get their shit together and also their kids. So it's just unlikely they're going to get their shit together. I like them a lot. The book had some friendship. Like, it passed the Bechdel test, but I don't know by how much. Which wasn't to say that the female characters weren't awesome, because they extremely are, and if you've watched the show, then you might think they're kind of tropey, and they start out that way, and they do shit with it. But there's just not that many of them. And neither of them is, like, confident, if that makes sense, on a certain level. Because it's a coming-of-age novel for a whole crew of shitty teens. Also, that author has a really, really big soft spot for a completely doomed romance. And you can see it in many different spots in her books. Delightful. But yeah, I'm excited to see if they can kind of take that and push it farther in the show, if they can take those things. But then I read the Save the World plot as well, because I was enjoying a certain amount of the character stuff, and like I said, the villain I really liked. So I read those books. I just finished the third and final one in that series. And I can't stop thinking about it. I don't know if I liked it. And I don't know, that's not really I'm not telling you to go read it or to not read it, because I'm not saying it was bad at all. It was absolutely doing what it did really well, which is probably why I can't stop thinking about it. But I just get so worn out by these sort of martyrdom plots, where like someone's destined to be the punching bag for fate. It was the thing I was obsessed with as a kid. Like, holy shit, I love that stuff. And that's why I think I can't handle it now, to a certain degree. Like, it was really too much a part of my inner brain for a while there, for me to be able to be chill about it. So that book definitely has those tropes. And I think they're pretty YA tropes, and I'm sure I wasn't the only kid and teen who enjoyed seeing a protagonist just get sucker punched by life over and over and over again. 'Cause I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say that teens can really relate to. Feeling like, what the fuck is happening? Over and over and over again. And like, why me? Big part of why me is being in a headspace where you also have a strong why me voice. Unfortunately, that has been kind of bad in my brain, and I've had to turn that one off. And I feel like it's pretty reasonable for popular media to explore these tropes, so I'm not going to go around saying that it's bad, because I think it does what it does well. The world building is really intriguing, and it feels like I went somewhere and I can't stop thinking about the people I hung out with, and that is absolutely the sign of a good book. It's just that some of those people had very bad things happen to them, and it was kind of depressing. And I don't super want to think about that anymore. There's some great moments though, and I feel like the magic system in those books, and it's definitely sort of elemental. It's a really interesting balance between people have frightening power, and that power has very clear boundaries, and nobody it. I think it's sort of presented at the beginning it's oh my goodness, you won't believe the things these people can do. And then as the books go on, the things they can do feel understandable, and you can kind of get your brain around them a little bit, with the exception of the what the fuck sort of premise characters. But the things that are normal in the world start to feel understandable, which I think is pretty impressive when you're making a magic system about bending different elements, but not in an airbender way, and being able to kind of reach in and manipulate all sorts of different stuff on an atomic level. So being able to make that one feel grokkable, honestly, very impressed. And it was just there were parts of it that were just really lovely, right? Details about oh, what are we eating today? What are the clothes like? What does it smell like in this room? I feel like the sensory details were fantastic. And in the Thieves books, they're there, but they aren't they're not used to the same end. Mostly they're there to remind you that life sucks for these kids. And they're doing desperate things because they have good reason. Which is kind of depressing, honestly. However, those kids are really great, and I really enjoyed those books. Brutal though. Both series, just fucking brutal. No break for those weeborns. They just don't get a break. No one gets a break at any point in any of these books, which is what I think I enjoyed reading. They were very fast-paced. That's right, folks. It's my wonky hand. Striking again. Okay. I think this has gone really quickly, actually. I was sort of worried that this one would kick my ass, A, and B, just drag on as I sort of fiddled with it. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy that it is as far as it is. I'm going to switch to the smaller flat now. Try and get some more careful details in. Hi, Romka. Hi, puppy dog. So now I have a few more library holds that have come in, and one of them is definitely like the first in a 5-book series. And I'm feeling a little worn out of multi-book series. It's the end of the year. I would like something quick and satisfying. And then the other one is a one-off, but it looks like an incredibly depressing retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale. And friends, I'm just having trouble motivating myself to crack open either book. I think it might be time to just go pick up some of my favorite comics and reread them. Honestly, they're going to be less depressing. I do actually really love big epic stories. I think I'm tired, you know? Who doesn't know? I had a client email and sort of be like, oh my gosh, I fell completely off the radar there for like 8 months. I'm so sorry. I was like, wow, has it been that long? Time has no meaning. I don't know where you were, but I also just kind of figured you'd show up if you could, and if you couldn't, you couldn't. It's so hard to like feel like there's anything I don't mean to sound depressing. It's hard to feel like time has consequences right now, even though it obviously does, just because so much of it is happening. Like, so much of what's going on in the world right now is me not being able to do anything. And so I keep just patiently waiting to see if that's going to change. So far it has not. Maybe it will in future. Okay, let's put some sort of like green tile in here. And just mixing up shadow colors. I was trying to think of books I would put on a books I'm glad I read this year, sort of. I don't know if it would be a best of, because I hate making those kinds of decisions, but memorable books from this past year. Because the library kind of keeps a history of what you've taken out of the library, and they also track your reading time on ebooks. Which frankly is a little bit freaky when you think about it. But before I get into why that's freaky, it does mean I have a nice list, which I don't normally have, of the things I've read this year. So I could actually make a list that included most of the things I've read. Puttering around trying to make a darker and darker trying to mix a color that looks like a light colored thing in a very dark place. It's kind of hurting my brain a little bit, not gonna lie. Oh, thank you. I think. You know what? The leg is... I gotta fix this leg. It's definitely time to stop painting. Let's move on to the pen. I'm gonna close this bad boy up. Mess. And my spritzer's in another room. I've been listening to an old favorite. We had an Audible account for like a year. Nice. Yeah, no, it was definitely cool, and it's really nice to have that record because I don't often remember books. I read them very quickly, and it's nice to have a history of what I've read without having to own the physical book because there isn't enough space in the universe. All right, I have an 05. An 01. I also have this blue pen that could be fun, possibly for that stuff. But let's get the 05 and the 01 going first. See, I saw one more thing I want to paint. That's how it goes. So this little square brush. And I just looked at it sitting there and I was like, oh right, I was going to use that on the underside of the awning. Only slightly holding my breath as I do this. Didn't ruin it. I'll take it. I forgot the little shrubs. There's all this like moss and little bushes sort of growing in the cracks back here, and I want to get them in. They're important to me. Cool. For real, For real, for real. Put the paintbrush down. Use the pen. I will say the amount that we have the heat on in our house has really made it nice because the paint just dries. It does not fuck around. It just dries. Pull this light. Whoa, right in front of the camera. How's that? That's a good one. And then you can see some of what I'm doing, and I can see some of what I'm doing. Hey, I put that right in the corner. Rookie mistake. Oh well. Yeah, now I'm moving the light. Okay, hold on. Around the lamp, around the camera. The compromises we make. This has absolutely been a stream of me fiddling with the camera and the light. But it's not my fault. The sun set while I was streaming. Ooh, the other light just went blurred. 1 second. BRB. Okay. Beep beep. Good dog. Just gotta get under the table to fix this problem. Oh, that's some good TV. Okay, I've reattached the light that nearly fell off. Y'all don't know how close we were to disaster. No further disasters, please. Okay, we're lit. Sorry, I had to crawl under my table, and now I'm warm. Yay. We got the shaky line today, friends. That's okay, though. This is a study. My hope with these is that I learned something. And I feel like I can see that I did. So, one of the things that I have learned is that in some ways drawing with paint is less punishing for me than drawing with pencil. I don't mean like making a finished drawing, because paint is very, very punishing to try and make it finished anything with. But to figure out what shape things are on the page. I've been learning that paint, watercolor, gouache, it's actually a really nice way for me to sort of play around until I figure it out. And once I have my sort of paint down, I feel like I can make decisions about where to put lines better than I would if I was just drawing. It's like excuse me. It's like I've kind of mapped out the space and I can keep track of it better. I guess I've sort of already prioritized what this piece is going to be about, you know? So I can kind of just go with it. And I mean, when I looked at the ref, I knew what the piece was about. It was about this red and blue and teal. Like that was the tasty part. Everything else is supporting it, putting it in context. And I think I just sort of reacted on like an abstract color is nice sort of vibe to the piece, to the photo. So having that in a way that I feel like I've achieved it, that's pretty much it. I'm good. I don't feel like I need to sort of prove anything else, but I feel like it could be even better with the context drawn in properly, so that's why we are where we are. And so there's a very weird stand in the front, and it's, I'm sure, a really useful piece of equipment, but I can't see it very well, and I can't guess what it is because I don't know much about maintaining electric cars. Or cars at all. Let's be honest here. Not a car maintenance person at this point. So I have to kind of guess. Ah, welcome. What is your food situation? Good things? Tasty things? So yeah, I just didn't draw in the thing that I couldn't tell what it was because that just seemed like asking for trouble. It is pretty much food o'clock, isn't it? That means it's almost dog walk o'clock. And the dog knows it. Hey, pup. Well, back to keeping track. Ooh, yeah. That sounds excellent. I have been reviving my starter so I can make bread, so I can make sandwiches that I like. I'm very picky about my sandwiches. Hey, inking this might take a little while. I was thinking about switching up to a smaller pen, but I actually kind of like this fixed width look. So I'm going to go. Ooh, 5 p.m. lunch. You know what? I've only eaten breakfast today because I ate breakfast at noon, because that's when I got around to it. So, no judgment. None from this quarter. Extremely relatable choice and process and circumstance. Who among us, honestly, has not slept or been distracted through at least one meal? Oh, see, this is where everything gets really little. It's kind of hard to track. What is what? Tiny trucks, drawing a really, really little truck. tracks. Why? That's the real question. We got some trees. You know what? I will break out the other smaller pen for all of these telephone wires. Or I could try doing them in blue, but I don't think that's going to pop that much. I do want to just kind of get a little bit of dimension onto the back of these. No, I'll just use the fixed width. It's fine. We do also have this in the background. Leftover coffee literally fuels all of the good things in the world. Like that first coffee, that's just the get out of bed coffee. But the leftover coffee, that's when the good shit happens. And in my house, it's leftover hot water in the kettle. Because I can't handle caffeine anymore. But God, it's such a blessing. Sorry, I'm making the thing bounce. Oh well. Okay, time to get out the white pen. It's true. Global industry hinges on leftover coffee. Our whole world. Fancy new one because I have several of these, and another one is with another kit that I have set up in the living room to do watercoloring on the couch. Because that's how I live my life now. Can I paint and where? Okay. I forgot some lines. Little rim lighting up on the roof. I really want it to feel like the sun is like, whoof, intense. Even though my colors aren't that intense. So. That's kind of cheating, but I don't mind. I forgive myself. All right, I do think this is done. Let's do a tape pull. That's fun. God, yeah, cheat. So much cheating. How I get shit done. Alright, still on camera somehow. The camera is still pointing at my art after me moving it all over. Okay. Ooh, this tape is bad. Bad tape. Sure, the tape pull I'll film live. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. This tape has been on here longer than usual. It's been a couple of days. Because I prepped this and then yesterday I was feeling like really shaky. And I figured I wasn't going to paint it this size. It would be a recipe for frustration. So I left this one to the side. And the tape is just a little drier, maybe. I don't know. But you know what? That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. I kind of want a little white pen on the road. You know? That feels better. All right. I'm calling it done. Super done. And I am going to remember to check my latency settings before I stream again. And yeah. Hey, thanks for the company. That was for sure a highlight of my day. Good luck with all of the stress, and may the leftover coffee power you to great things, which I know it will, because I know you and coffee have a close relationship. And yeah, hope to see you on the internet. Have a good one. Goodbye.